Welcome to an Out of the Park 25 video. Here in this sim, I'm going to show you a little bit of an offline sim I've been doing. I've shown you guys a few videos from this sim throughout this baseball season, maybe a few videos here and there. My last one a couple weeks ago was about the prospects that I had traded for when they were young and they had exploded into some great prospects. So this is that sim. And I wanted to show you this one because, man, I don't ever remember starting a season 29-4, playing, 880 ball, basically. Maybe I have. I've had some really good runs. Like, I've definitely had low single-digit loss totals through April. But then, I've won every game in May, and it just keeps building. And this is definitely one of the best starts I've ever had, if not the best. You can see we've won 12 in a row. Expanded standings-wise, we're +4 our Pythagorean because, who's going to have a 29-4 Pythagorean, right? But still 25-8. We have a +84 run differential, and it's May 9th. And we're 10-0 in one-run games. Just everything has gone right. And, I'm sure that we will have a month where we are 500 and a month where maybe we're below 500. I'm not even convinced I'll break the single season win record with this, but we'll see. But I will show you guys some of you could see probably from this standings leaderboard. Get to use these names: Ocampo and Solorzano. Solorzano is one of the stud prospects that I showed you in the last video. Ocampo was an international free agent signing of mine from a while ago. But yeah, so Solorzano, 129 plate appearances, 3 WAR, 261 WRC plus. He was a guy that I showed you in the last video that I traded for, and then he had gone to the moon. Thank you, TCR. And then I put him in the development lab when he had a 70/75 power, and he went to 80 out of 80 before this season. So last year, he put up 6.4 WAR and 141 starts, 161 WRC plus, and he hit 39 home runs. He's, on his way to crush all of that so far. He's on pace for 79 home runs. He's on pace for 14.9 WAR, which I'm sure won't last, but just a completely ridiculous start to the season for our third baseman, Sergio Solorzano, out of Venezuela, who we got from the Texas Rangers back in 2034 when I think he was in low A. So he's been huge. Ismael Ocampo, compared to Solorzano, it's man, this guy sucks, but still a pretty good player. You can see I signed him in 2027 as an international free agent for $1.5 million. MLB-wise, he came up and he was just kind of he was good but wasn't playing every day. I think maybe he had some injuries here. I also had a beastly outfield at one point in this sim where it was hard to get guys at bats. And then he kind of leveled off and dropped off a bit to where I wasn't sure what kind of player he was going to be. And then the last season he was a monster, and then this season he's gotten off to another great start, a 215 WRC plus through 28 games, on pace for 10.6 WAR. He's doing it as a double machine, on pace for a very nice 69 doubles, on pace for 201 hits. Yeah, I don't know how you sustain this pace all season to get 200 hits, but his walk rate is up, his strikeout rate is the same. Just a really good season for him. If you're still watching, let me just interrupt 1 second to say, in the link to this video, in the description of this video, there's a link to a fundraising I'm doing to raise money for Parkinson's research. I haven't come close to my fundraising total from last year. So, if you can donate $1, $2, $5, something more, whatever, every little bit helps. I'd really appreciate it if you're able to do that. Back to these guys. Brian Coy is a former third-round pick who last year came up. You can see he just kind of worked. He just exploded onto the scene. Let me see. What was his deal? I'm trying to remember. All levels. Oh, no, he was always pretty good. And then A-ball, AA. Yeah, he's just come up through the system and been pretty awesome and continued to grow. And now he's off to a really good start in his first full MLB season. I was having trouble finding room for him, but eventually it was just we got to find room for this guy. And we did. Joe Nels is an interesting guy because major development lab win on him. He got his infield range up to a 65, so he could play shortstop for us, which I'm starting to do with him this year to see how he's doing. He's not playing every day at shortstop because he can play everywhere. He's only played 7 games there so far, but he has a positive zone rating. Honestly, if you can have a 121 WRC plus and play a positive zone rating shortstop, that's pretty awesome. The contact, isn't great, but if you can have average contact with that kind of eye and power, like he could really be a monster. I think maybe there's another gear here for him hitting possibly, but even if there's not, like he's a really good player. Our backup catcher's off to a great start. This has kind of been like a 4th outfielder for us, but we've had some injuries, and this is his first full major league season, and he's off to a good start too. That's Javiero Balanzar. Howarth, who I showed you in the last video as a stud prospect, had a really good 2037, not quite as good in 2038, but still good and solid here in 2039. But honestly, like when I look at the scouting report and OSA paints a similar picture, I do think I'm expecting more than the mid 120s WRC plus, even though that is awesome. And if you like RBI, he drove in 132 runs last year. So Jackson Holliday's still on this team. Gunnar Henderson is right at the tail end of his career. I'm not going to DFA him, but maybe I should. I want to do another video on like Holliday, Henderson, Samuel Basayo, kind of the 3 guys who have been my core of, I've had other guys who have been the core and other guys who stuck around a long time, but of the real life current 2024 Orioles core and prospects, like those are the 3 who stuck with me through the late 2030s, which is pretty cool. Holliday's still starting at second base. Henderson I just kind of have on the roster just to be respectful to what he's meant to the franchise, and the fact that he's like my favorite major league player. Pitching wise, absolute legend Zion Nowden. He's a supplemental first round pick back in 2028, and he's just been a really, really good pitcher. And then even taking it to another level here, you can see just like ERA plus wise, WAR wise, 37, 38, and now in 39, he's stepped it up to another level beyond what was already like a really good pitcher. He's starting to climb some Oriole leaderboards for me, and I did sign him to a long contract into his late 30s, which is not something I normally do with a pitcher. I signed it prior to last season, so he was a free agent after this awesome year at the age of 30. And given what he's meant to the franchise, I wanted to bring him back, and I just could not get him to take anything more reasonable than the 7 years, $178 million. This isn't a disaster. And maybe he's going to opt out and cost me even more money. But this was basically like a legacy contract. I was like, this guy's meant so much to the franchise. He's going to have a few more good seasons, but man, this is probably going to be an ugly contract at the end. But honestly, like low 20 millions, if you're still pumping in good young talent, like I can afford that for a season or two. So to have him not performing. Chris Carmen, absolute legend out of the pen. In 19 2/3 innings, he's put up 1.3 WAR, 1.50 WAR. RWAR, a .46 ERA, 1.27 FIP. He's just doing the thing, man. I got him from San Diego in a trade in 2034, and you can see he's been really good for us overall. Some ups and downs, like just a really solid reliever. And then this year he's just taking it to another level. 238 BABIP, is pretty well below what he's 264, what he's been for us since he's been here. He's also striking out a ton of guys right now and not walking anybody. So at the age of 32, he's like found another gear, which is pretty cool. Fraber, let's call him Ig, because that's fun to say. He's been with me for a while, but he's having his best season yet so far. I got him from the Phillies back in 2035, and just a really solid pitcher who's, you can see, like, there's a theme here. Like, I have a lot of really solid players, and then several have had, like, the best month of their career. Are they going to have career years? We'll see. Prince Dorse, he has been a solid reliever for me that I decided to – he's been an okay reliever. Like, he's been a fine reliever for me. ERA's been better than league average. FIP has been below league average. So he's been solid in the bullpen, and I needed a 5th starter this year, and he had starter ability, and he was getting kind of expensive for an average reliever. So I just decided to try him as a starter this year, and you can see that's worked out really well through his first 6 starts. His last start was 6 1/3, 1 hit, 12 Ks. That's going to play all day. Luis Zapata, who we got from Texas in 2037. And you can see a lot of my pitching right now in this sim was trades. I have some homegrown guys in my pen. I have Prince Dorse. I have two of my 5 guys in my rotation are homegrown. But definitely some guys that I've traded for in this sim too. But Zapata is just a really good starter for me who I, for one more year, haven't been able to get him on a contract that I like. Like if you go like 6 years and apply long-term demands, like I don't know, that gets dicier than like that $22 million range that I had Nowden in his mid-30s. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Zapata. But he's been really good. Also in the bullpen, Kevin Conaway, a .60 ERA. Steve Edwards, a 1.99 ERA. Homegrown Randy Hagerman with a 0.73 ERA, 2032 round 8 pick, who has come up and been a very solid reliever for us. You can see the ERA and FIP both better than league average even before this year. Strikes out a lot of guys. And just looks like a really solid bullpen arm for us and a lefty to boot. Anybody else I want to tell you about? I mean, Chris Norris was a waiver claim back in, I think that says 2038. Is that right? Or was it more recently than that? Oh, yeah, 2038. So last season I claimed him off of waivers. And he came in, was solid for with 3.44 ERA. And then he's, his FIP isn't great this year so far, but the ERA is rocking. And, I mean, the strikeout to walk ratio is ridiculous. A lot of home runs and a super low BABIP, but he's been good. Wait, why has he only pitched 3 2/3? Okay, I didn't realize that. I was giving you the sips. I was like, was he hurt? I'm not quite sure why he's been used so infrequently. I feel like maybe something is going on here. No, maybe he's just not being used and I just hadn't noticed. Interesting. Okay. Ocasio is a guy that I signed for $120,000, I think, as an international free agent. And I lost him to the Rule 5 draft, but then he was returned. And he didn't pitch too much for me last year, but now he's up at 24 and he's off to a good start this year. But just a really solid pitching staff. And Grayson Rodriguez, if you're seeing him, I brought him back. So you can see he pitched for me through 2028. And then he went out to find himself, and then he returned home last season on a 2-year deal to kind of be a back-end starter for us. We needed a veteran presence. Wasn't that great last year. Not doing great this year, but welcome home, Grayson. We're glad you're here. Team stats, just everything's pretty much first and second, as you can imagine. Zone ratings third. The horror. Stolen bases. We're not stealing enough bases, guys. So 21-4 and then 8-0. So just wanted to give you guys just a quick rundown of this best start ever that I've had. And again, if you can afford today $1, $5, whatever you're able to afford, I'd appreciate if you check the link in the description of this video, as I'm raising money for Parkinson's research to help support a fundraiser my mom and dad put on, as my mom has Parkinson's disease. So if you could consider that, I really appreciate it, but also understand, money only goes so far. We all only have so much money, and we all have a lot of causes that we want to help if we're able. So totally understand if you're not able, but would appreciate it if you can. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you in the next video. Go 2039 O's. Bye.